fact. It is heart to heart. Ship to shore. All we need and nothing more is true love.
One of the top 100 attorneys by The Hollywood Reporter. So Neville, tell me a little bit about your illustrious career.
I started off as doing music contracts, and I spent many years working for Yoko Ono, and ultimately started doing more and more litigation. On the music side of things, I worked with the estates of Buddy Holly and Ricky Nelson and Bobby Darin and others, and then on the film side, the estates of Richard Pryor, Charles Bronson, Peter Sellers, and because of the class actions we're involved in, literally thousands of actors, writers, and directors.
So now, some of these class action lawsuits, I know that some of the information obviously we don't want to go into detail about, but there's an underlying theme. What would that be?
Underreporting of royalties and net profits that are due talent. So in the record side of things, it's been for underreporting of download royalties in many cases. And on the motion picture side of things, it has to do with underpayment for home video, which is a very big segment of the industry.
Now, how does it work these days with Netflix? Do they get a percentage? Do the artists get a percentage?
The artists, if they have a back end on it, a percentage on the back end. What happens is that to share in net profits on the motion picture television side, and of those, so I'm fighting for the people who are or should be in net profits, that they're not getting enough because a lot of the times they're just being underpaid. On the record side of things, they may not have been recouped their advance, or the costs are going to be there, and they're just not getting paid fairly. And so when the new media came in with the internet and digital downloads, everyone was affected in the industry, and there had to be a day of reckoning for the record companies.
Great. Well, the whole model, the business model has changed tremendously.
It's a huge issue right now, and it's a constant war between talent and the employers as to how much they're going to get and to what is fair. The problem is that there's so much talent out there that is so eager, that are willing to make deals that are not going to be favorable to them. A lot of times they think we can renegotiate later, and a lot of times they can, but it's just a really difficult industry overall.
And what made you decide to go into law?
Well, I had a friend of mine as a kid whose father was a very prominent Beverly Hills lawyer, and I had educated parents and went to good schools, and I figured out that law was a good profession, plus I like to argue.
Most people dream about being that kind of attorney.
I would say that I have a job that I find very gratifying in the sense that I work with extremely interesting topics, intellectual property. I meet talent, and I get to know people and learn their business. But it also has a lot of pressure involved in it, and it's a very rigorous job at many different times. I wrote a book some years ago about a man named John Wooden, who's the greatest coach in the history of athletics in America. He coached the UCLA basketball team to 12 national championships. And he also created something called the Pyramid of Success, which is why I wrote the book. And he says that peace of mind is a direct result of self-satisfaction in knowing you've made the effort to become your best. What I'm trying to make is, he says, the key to success is enthusiasm and hard work and going after a great and difficult challenge. And that's when we're talking about, do you like your job and all the rest of that stuff, you got to be enthusiastic. I presume you like going around and asking penetrating questions of people.
I love it.
The man behind the camera likes working that camera, and there's a lot of people who are in jobs that they don't like, and that's what they got to do, is find something that they do. But I do like being a lawyer.
So you're in the book publishing business as well?
I am. With my wife, Cindy, we publish books, about 3 or so a year, mysteries, nonfiction, fiction. In fact, I have a book coming out this Valentine's Day, and I have written over 160 poems of love for my wife.
Oh.
And this is called Real Poems About Real Love, so that's what I'm going to be doing.
So I think this is a good time to chat about Trevor McShane. So Trevor McShane is a family name?
I'm three-fourths Irish, and in the 1800s, my family emigrated from Ireland Their name initially was McShane, but because of prejudice against the Irish, they changed their name in about 1852 or something like that to the Johnson Construction Company in Brookline, Massachusetts. And so I've been a Johnson ever since then, but I'm using McShane and bringing it back to give it the proper respect and dignity it deserves.
So you perform, you're sort of a Americana, Frank Sinatra, sort of bluesy, jazzy
That sounds like a little bit of everything, and it probably is.
Is that right?
Folk, rock, country, pop. Well, this is one of my newest songs that I quite like. The best man is me. Today's the wedding day. My best friend is her man. Her wedding ring is in my hand. Someone is full of envy. Someone she used to date. Someone who cannot believe this is his fate. For yes, I still love her. The best man for her is me, but I'm only the best man. The wedding ain't for me. I really tried to win her. I did the best I could. I even prayed about it. She never understood. My love is genuine, true as true could be. Now standing at the altar all alone. That would be me.
So tell us a little bit about Trevor McShane. Do you perform at events?
I do probably about 3 or 4 gigs a year. Also, I'm very, very busy with my law practice. And I'm recording and writing a lot all the time, and I have recently released an album, Asphalt and Sand, and I've got more coming out in the future, including the Kernerville sessions. I went to North Carolina not too long ago and recorded an album with Don Dixon, who produced the first 2 REM albums, and Marshall Crenshaw and the Smithereens, and then Ian McLagan played keyboards on it. He was in the Faces and the Small Faces and toured with the Stones and Santana and Dylan. And I get compared with Mark Knopfler a lot, Lou Reid, Leonard Cohen, the band. They're all people I like, and I'm in that area.
So the question comes to mind, you're this high-powered attorney, and then you're also a performer.
One of the reasons I'm Trevor McShane was that I didn't want to interfere with my law practice.
Yes.
And so I had a whole phony history about Trevor McShane for some years that I told people about. But look, as a lawyer, you're certainly a performer in the court. In terms of the music, you know, I like playing it so much, and I'm surrounded by, all my musicians are pros.
Yes.
So I get up on stage and I'm buoyed up and supported by wonderful people, and I'm comfortable doing it, I enjoy it, and yeah, there's a big kick to playing music live, and there's certainly a thrill to making a recording that you're proud of. What happened was I was discouraged from playing music as a child. Mom said, musicians are losers. You can't play. You're not taking piano lessons. So when I was about 19 or so, I started playing. Friends had guitars, and they taught me a few chords, and I bought one when I was about 20 or 21. And then I pretty much played on my own in my room till I was 43. Somebody had me play in a coffee house, and my friend who had me play said, "You need to do original stuff." I'd written some songs back when I was in my 20s, but it didn't come easy. I started to write again, and it came wonderfully easy to write. I enjoyed doing it. A friend took me into the studio with the Parliament Funkadelic, 2 of them. Now, the Parliament Funkadelic are considered to be the greatest group in the history of black music. And so Gary Scheider and Bernie Worrell were at my first session, and I said to myself, this is fun. And decided at that point I was going to start pursuing it more seriously, and I've been doing that for about the last 20 years. You know, I've always said that for the people who at the end of their lives said, I should have written that book or taken that trip or whatever it was, I say, well, why didn't you?
Yeah,
you know,
because you
I
can't
can
do
say,
it again.
you know, I want to write the book, or I've written a couple books, and I have 3 books, and I wanted to make music, and I've done it, and I wanted to, you know, make a difference. I think I have in the legal profession. So yes, you can do it all. Not to say I'm Superman or the world's most talented guy, but I know what I like, and I like what I do.
It's true love, uncomplicated, simple and direct. We communicate in truth and fact.